Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to Relax Radio, and this is currently The Buzz. You are here with your hosts, DJ Kings and Tim. As you know already, throughout the whole week, we speak about only one thing and one thing only, that is business, entrepreneurship, finances, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, technology. You're tuned in today for the latest updates on technology and everything around finances. Make sure you keep your ears peeled because we're here to make sure your pockets stay high and your problems stay low. This is The Buzz.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, James, for that amazing intro. Now, coming into the topic of the day, we're talking about Richard Branson. We're talking about a whole new era in tourism in terms of experiences for mankind, right? And
Indeed.
we're talking about space travel, not the space travel. We're talking about the space race. Who is the first person to get to space, and where is this
Yeah.
going to take us? So
Yes.
yeah, talking about the whole concept of going to Mars, going to becoming a multi-planetary species. This has been a long-term conversation with Elon Musk, and alongside Elon Musk, you have the names Tesla, SpaceX, Boring Company, and also artificial intelligence, right? That's Neuralink. Now, as of recent, we know that Jeff Bezos has been. We've spoken about this on the Buzz as well, of how Jeff Bezos has auctioned a ticket off for space travel, and how much did
Yeah.
that go for?
We're looking at about maybe 20 million, I believe. It was a
28
bit of
million. Yeah,
28 million.
yeah.
I think that was in US dollars. In US dollars, I'm calculating in
Yeah,
pounds, yeah. But
yeah.
yeah,
So that's 20 million pounds basically, and then
yeah.
to come to the understanding of how this practically could be one of the first billionaires to go into space. He was looking at going on the 20th of July. This date is linked to a couple of the primary space travel dates. That's with NASA to the moon. And suddenly out of nowhere, there's people are talking about this. People have been hyped about it for about couple of weeks, and then out of nowhere you have Richard Branson coming in and saying that what, I'm leaving before that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? We did speak about this probably a couple shows back, and you asked the question of was it a petty move? And if I'm honest, was it competitive or was it out of competition? And if I'm honest, the response I gave was it's definitely a bit of both because
Bit of both.
who doesn't want to be in the spotlight to gain more revenue for their companies, you know? I mean,
Why
these
not?
guys are exactly like at the end of the day, all publicity for them is good publicity. And as far as anything's concerned, they already made enough money as it is. I'm pretty sure we were even just speaking about Richard Branson having his own island. The man doesn't need any more money, but I'm sure he does like to be in the shot of the camera. So
You
who
have this
does?
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Go
like
ahead. My
honestly,
bad, Chris. My bad. Thanks.
it's so good. It's so good. Literally, like I'm sure he wants to be in the spotlight. He likes to be the talk of the town. Like who doesn't like for him? I'm not even surprised. I'm just generally not surprised. He wants to be in the spotlight. He's now got all the media attention on him. So now because of that, he's gaining more money in other places. He's gaining more exposure for the company and for Virgin Galactic Holdings, which I'm pretty sure is new, given the fact that this is for space travel. So this hasn't been around for a very long time.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
this might be just a new arm. This might be a new stream for the group.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about Virgin Group, there's so many industries. You've definitely seen the Virgin planes. You've seen Virgin travels. They come into. You have Virgin gyms as well.
Yeah.
There's so much that these guys are into, and if it comes to experiences, products, they try to stand out in their own sense of marketing and whatever industry they're in. This guy, he's never limited himself in terms of industries or markets, and he's always been up for a challenge. So that's one thing I really admire about this guy. he's 70 years old. The guy can literally just, I mean, he could literally just purchase a ticket on Blue Origin or SpaceX instead of, pumping billions of pounds into this conversation or, this whole space race. And I mean, he chooses to do it himself. So that's those are characteristics of a true entrepreneur. It's not really the numbers. It's not really how much you earn. It's about you innovating, coming up with an experience or a product, and just getting that out there. So I mean, long story short, this guy is looking at Virgin. We know that SpaceX and Blue Origin are looking at commercializing all these as well. So to start off, they're looking at pushing $250,000 ticket, if I'm not mistaken. And the company says that they've got almost 700 people listed already. Eventually, he promises to bring that price down to just $40,000. I mean, I've been telling you about the costing thing. Once things get commercialized, once things get standardized, how the economies of scale keep going up. So it's going to be like airspace. It's just going to be like traveling from a country to another. Initially the prices were really high. The service standard was really low, but now with competition in the market, you have to keep your price competitive.
Yeah, indeed.
And offer as many services as you can.
Even speaking on that, I was just thinking about the pricing for how much it would cost to be able to go up to space, because this is even a conversation, not even earlier in the week, but this is something that we probably had say last week when we were speaking on this whole idea, maybe even 2 weeks ago, but when we were speaking on the whole idea of flying into space, having this wildest adventure yet, or having the experience of being able to see how the Earth looks away from Earth, not just from a satellite picture. And
absolutely. I mean, a whole new perspective. I mean, you've seen the pictures, you've seen graphics, you have seen illustrations of it, but I can guarantee you it's gonna feel so much different when you're actually experiencing it with your own eyes.
Yeah, exactly. I was even thinking of how the price of being able to go into space. We were even speaking on it. I was thinking, I don't know if you remember, but I said the price might even sit at like maybe 5 million, and it's not easily accessible for most. But nowadays, for some reason, everyone's a millionaire. Everyone seems to be able to have so much money coming out of nowhere. Like poof. Next month we're probably going to see like another 3, 4, maybe 5 millionaires just out of nowhere. You get what I'm saying?
Right. That's right.
So literally, people are going to be able to afford this experience. I thought it would be sitting at maybe a 5 million, maybe a 5 million if it becomes commercialized.
To the point of when the tickets come down to around $40,000, that's you're talking a much bigger market coming into play. So I don't see why not. Literally.
Looking at the report, I was also looking through the report when it's talking about Richard Branson, who's racing Jeff Bezos to get to space. Looking through that, there was also the fact that his business had actually taken a hit due to COVID, which, yes, it does indeed make sense. A lot of businesses took a bit of a hit due to COVID, but it says that Virgin Galactic Holdings is a space tourism company that will take Mr. Branson on his first fully crewed space flight this weekend. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, they said that he'll be flying up. Jeff Bezos is flying up on the 20th, right?
Bezos, yes.
Yes, he's flying on the 20th.
The first trip is on the 11th.
Ah, I see. So the first trip is on the 11th. So he's flying up to space on the 20th of this month. Branson, he's flying. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 days before, but I know that he's flying earlier.
That's on the 11th.
Yes.
Also, what is on the 11th is the finals.
The finals, the NBA finals.
Quite a bit on Friday, on Sunday.
I feel like this month has just been a good month for pretty much everything shocking. Sports, tech, business. This is why you guys need to listen and watch in on the bars, because you never know what we're gonna tell you. But literally, so on the 11th, that Branson's gonna be flying up. I feel like this is really about to break some serious barriers here, because for majority of our lives, we've only ever known astronauts to fly up to space. You need to be an astronaut. You need to be trained as an astronaut to be able to go up into space. Now we're seeing two businessmen that are completely successful, that have pretty much just completed life, as we know. They've completed life. They own everything that they want to own. Like, they're capable of getting whatever they want because they've earned it. And now they want to fly up to space. No experience in anything to do with astronomy whatsoever. They're not. They've never done any astronaut training. Well, I'd like to believe that they're currently doing that now, but they've never trained to be astronauts from the age of young. They've just made businesses and become incredibly wealthy. And now they want to take the plunge into space. I feel as though it's breaking some serious barriers here.
Because, serious barriers, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
When you talk about the practice, or when you talk about experience in space travel, and astronaut experience, these guys, whoever is taking the trip, is supposed to do about a 4-week practice. This includes things in the lines of dieting. It includes things in the lines of underwater training, just to get used to moving things around, moving your body around. Pressure tests, because they also actually they put you, let's say, in a massive round, right? It's an incubator, and they basically put you in the end of a capsule that is connected to the center, and they spin you so fast that your body gets used to being planted to the seat. So this is what you're experiencing. I mean, this is not even an F1 car. This force is going to be so much stronger, right? You're traveling upwards to space against gravity. Things like that. Like, you need to get used. There's so much of training you need to do. You need to get used to methods of breathing. Like when you travel on a roller coaster, you feel your gut coming up, right? So that's a touch of G-force. But this is basically traveling to space, man. And you've seen pilots. If you haven't seen any of these videos of pilots, passing out while doing turns or whatever.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So that can happen actually when you're on the ship. So this is what they all have to train for.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I always thought that whenever, I could even be correct when I say this, I don't know, but I always thought that whenever pilots pass out, whenever they're either going into space or making a turn in a plane, it's due to all the pressure that they feel being so high up in altitude, and then on top of that, there's also all the force going against them. So that's what I thought was pretty much knocking them out. But when I was younger, I never understood why they passed out. I thought it was just they were just scared.
Okay, this is a bit off topic, but then the biological reason to it is because see, your brain uses oxygen, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People, you've seen them in the gym. For example, you've seen people in the gym do a huge amount on the deadlift, and then the second they let go of the weight, they just pass out.
Yeah.
That's because the brain doesn't have oxygen.
Ah, that makes sense.
So when the pressure is against that flow, your blood goes down, which means your oxygen goes down away from your brain. And then that's when you basically pass out.
Oh, I understand. Okay, that does make sense now. That does make sense. That explains why sometimes whenever say I finish lifting something heavy, I do a heavy set and I stand up, I get a bit lightheaded and I need to just hold on to something for a second.
Exactly, man.
I understand.
See, you're tall, right? So if you when you wake up in the morning, you get out of bed in a jolt, you're gonna feel a little dizzy in the head. So what I do is I'm 6'2", so I mean you're so much taller, but we feel this more because the length from our feet to the head is so much longer. So how you tackle this is you take a couple of deep breaths. When you take deep breaths, your oxygen starts moving around, your blood starts moving around. So that's how you get oxygen in your head. Just try it. I mean, this should, like, I mean, you might not know what to do because you feel relaxed immediately, but then the worst thing to do is not breathe, not take a deep breath. If you actually Google, if you YouTube G-force training for these pilots, it's actually a breathing technique that these guys do. You feel their guts coming up like that because they're so planted onto the seats. And they're instructed. You can hear someone talking to them, and you can hear them say, breathe now, something in those lines. And it's super cool because it's an amazing experience. Now we might see these fighter pilots and all of them. They basically, what they do is you see it from the ground. You might think, okay, cool, all they do is stuff to do with the joystick, but the physics behind it is so much more challenging. That's why these guys need to be fit as well. You don't see an unhealthy pilot, right? They need to be fit.
Of course not. Yeah, of course.
So I mean, there's so much that goes into it.
That's insane. I didn't know how much actually went into just flying. I really didn't know that. I really didn't know that. It's a whole
different conversation there.
Indeed, Jack. Welcome to the buzz.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to the buzz.
Exactly. So we've got a lot of more cool conversation here. We've got a lot of more briefing in the lines of what Richard Branson is bringing to the table, to compete with Blue Origin. That's Jeff Bezos. Stay tuned right here. You're tuned in on the buzz. This is Kings and Tim. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start and say, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million and they're different, right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws to different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies and then you step up into different things.
Climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
You're talking about mental health. Well, if you went out and got some exercise in the fresh air, that would improve your mental health. It will make you feel better.
That's true. That is true. I wholeheartedly agree. But then for some people, it's how do you find the motivation to, especially when it comes to riding a bicycle, to do it again and again and again and again? It's a cycle that you have to be used to. How do you do it? What makes you wake up in the morning and decide, hey, I'm going to pick my bike up today. I'm going to cycle. What makes you want to do that?
What makes me want to do that?
Yeah. What do you like? What could you give listeners, like people listening in right now? What kind of tip could you give them?
Well, the first tip I would give them, if you haven't tried it before, try it. It can open up new horizons. It will make you fitter. It will definitely make you fitter. Cycling is one of the best forms of aerobic exercise you can do.
It sounds like, I mean, if you think about it, yeah, it sounds like great fun. Because what essentially you're trying to say is also at the same time, when you, if you look at it from this perspective, with regards to mental health, especially when you look at it with mental health, this is another way to fight it. I feel like you go outside, you meet more people, you interact with, socially, you will interact with more people, and you're keeping fit, you're making connections, you're breathing in the good and exhaling the bad. I feel like that's a great thing right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got a better way with words than I have, I'll tell you. But you're quite right. What you say there.
I mean, I've been doing this for quite some time. I mean, hey, you'll get the hang of it.
I've been doing it for about 10 minutes now, so yeah.
That I can never really understand people staying in one room the whole day when you can have the world to see. I am a traveler. I travel. I love traveling. Traveling is just one of the things I do. And yeah, on top of my bucket list was, to one time, hopefully when I get there, go to Nepal and climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
Base camp, yeah.
At least.
Would you be able to cycle there?
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back from the break. You are tuned into Relax Radio, and this is The Buzz. Everything finance, everything entrepreneurship, everything business, and most importantly, everything technology. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your ears peeled so that you can keep your pockets deep and your problems shallow. This is The Buzz.
Coming into more conversation around Richard Branson, and talking about how he's looking at exploring space travel with his company Virgin Galactic. Now, with this conversation around who is actually going to space first, he says that he's not necessarily racing Jeff Bezos, but yeah, I mean, you only know, I mean, maybe only he or the company knows what their targets are, but he's officially the first person to come up on board, and he can be basically branded the person that goes down in history as the first billionaire to go into space. And yeah, I mean, this is quite a title. I mean, this is just this Sunday as well. Now, the name of the ship is the Virgin Galactic's space plane VSS Unity. Yeah, and this is the most high-profile launch since its founding, apparently, which was back in 2004. Now, the launch date gives plenty of time, basically, for its new Shepard subordinate. This is basically Jeff Bezos, and he's recently resigned as the CEO. He is now, he talks about how he's moving towards his passion, which is traveling to space. And I'm just thinking about the numbers, right? I'm just thinking about how funding came through. Now, Jeff Bezos was one person that he used to basically he killed it in Amazon. He is now the chairperson. I think we've discussed this as well, but he is still the chairperson of the company. And as of I think the last 2 years or so, he's been cashing out on stocks of around 15 to 20 billion dollars. And I mean, this is all his money, brother. This is all his assets. No one can really say anything to it. But chances are he's been putting it into Blue Origin.
Most likely. So far, I mean, as you say, you've already mentioned yourself, the numbers don't lie. He's making a lot of his money. Like right now, he doesn't have a worry in the world except from being able to get into space. And once he's achieved that, I would like to believe that for him, life is complete, really, truly. Or maybe as a business person, I feel as though maybe as a business person, or maybe just as somebody that just likes to achieve things, he may find a new goal. Who knows? And who's to say we don't end up seeing something else pop up later on in life that will definitely approve of technology and just make lifestyle so much better? What else could he add on to Amazon that he doesn't already have? We never know. But touching on to Richard Branson, and just looking through the whole thing itself, you mentioned that you said that he wasn't doing it in order to, what's it? I think I completely missed what it was that he said. Yeah, competing. Yeah, he said he wasn't doing it for competition. Now, I mean, he can say that, but right now, I feel like everything's right here in front of us, and every single move he's made kind of shows it's like, even though you don't say it, it looks like it.
Yeah, so he does say that. I mean, and I quote. He says, I know nobody will believe me when I say it, but honestly, there isn't competition. And he's been talking on shows. He's been talking on social media about how it's not competition. They're promoting this to a phenomenal level. They're promoting the trip. Because obviously now this is going to become a business. I read this. I think it was a video that I watched. This takes me back to how when he started his first flight with Virgin Airlines. Yeah. The same day he went home. His bank advisor had come to his house and said that he was in a lot of debt, and with regards to the company, they advised him to shut it down, and he immediately just closed the door and went back. Ignoring the negatives of it. This guy is, he's a phenomenal businessman. I mean, I have so much of respect for the guy because, now being 70 years old, he says, he couldn't wait for the opportunity to, travel to space. And after watching, Apollo 11 land in the moon back in 1969. This is around 50 odd years ago. This is
50 odd, or about 50 odd
53 years ago.
Yeah.
52. Yeah, but with Blue Origins, Jeff Bezos, he's also scheduled to launch on the 52nd of anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing.
Yeah.
I mean, all respect to Jeff Bezos, but this guy really talks about how there's plenty of space. Talking about this, how the specs, the experience when you're traveling. There are seat prices that remain sky high for participation, and it is open largely to the super rich, he says. And the forthcoming Inspiration 4 flight aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon. These are led by the billionaire Jared Isaacman. And when you're talking about contesting winners, these guys are promoting these type of campaigns, and they know how this market basically functions. Right now, let's say I'm just learning a trend here. It's in the lines of auctions or giveaways. You've definitely seen social media. This is just marketing thought, right?
Yeah.
If a new company comes up on Facebook, they run a giveaway. You post this thing on your story or whatever. My take is, when it comes to these super rich people's, competitions, what they do is they run an auction. And, when there's an auction run, these guys, it's not just about the price, it's about the statement, right? So that's why, even SpaceX seems to be doing this.
Yeah.
Even Jeff Bezos did it.
I'm auctioning things off. As you said, making a statement. So that's why they're always trying to put that. It's like the higher the price that they choose to call. So say for example, 25,000 for that seat. Do I hear 28? Someone says 50. And then, people are going, okay, so what do I hear? 51? All right, there's 51, there's 52. And then I know there's been moments in time where during an auction, you get those two people that are battling it out for just that seat. They don't care about how much they're paying. They just want to make sure that they are the ones to get it. So it goes 51, 52, 53. Then that, what? Screw it. 80,000. Once, twice, sold,
There was this movie I think I wanted to tell you to watch. It was with Adam Sandler and Kevin Garnett.
Oh, really? Kevin Garnett?
Yeah. Some Adam Sandler and Kevin Garnett. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to watch it because it has something to do with auctioning. It has something to do with Kevin Garnett. It's called Uncut Gems. Make sure you write it down or something like that.
Yes, I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but I've heard of it. I need to watch it. I've heard of Uncut Gems. I have.
Yeah, you like it. Knowing that you follow basketball as well, but
I need to give that a shot because I've seen it come up as a suggestion so many times. Whenever I go onto Netflix, it comes up so much every single time I go onto Netflix.
Give it a shot.
Oh, of course I will, 100%. But speaking on even Uncut Gems, the uncut gem out of this whole thing right now is just, what is the goal here? So we've got Jeff Bezos saying it's the wildest adventure ever for him, like his most exciting adventure yet. We have Elon Musk, who is creating SpaceX so that he could be able to create travel from Earth to space, just for people to be able to, take upon themselves to, go on up. I think I think there was even a description of how he wanted the capsule to be. So there would be a capsule that would seat about, I think, 6 or 8 people. So there was that. Richard Branson, the reasoning behind him, why exactly? What's his goal? Why is he flying to space? What is he trying to achieve? That I'm not too sure I know. We do know that he is flying earlier. I don't know if he's trying to achieve the title of, the first businessman in space. Yeah, that's the first billionaire in space. I don't know. If that's the title he's trying to achieve, is that the reason why he chose to go and book or set up the flight, set up his launch like a week before Jeff Bezos? I don't know. One thing I do know is that there's going to be a lot happening in the next coming weeks. There's going to be a lot happening in the next coming weeks, and the skies are going to be very, very crowded.
If you watch these guys' videos, they've got Under Armour sponsoring them. The space suits look super cool, honestly, and it's all blue. I'm sure you've seen it. Now they have Under Armour sponsoring. They have a cool logo placement right there in the center, and I think this is Under Armour moving into a new product. These guys are basically, now not just sports but space as well.
Yeah. Now, like imagine athletes wearing spacewear. So not only are you going to be good at your sport, but then you're also going to have zero gravity movement too. That's where sports meet space. That integration is a very good tie up. Now, even speaking on Under Armour as well, do you know how good that will be for Under Armour, the company themselves? I remember checking the story of how Under Armour started, and the owner of Under Armour actually ended up broke one time. He took out all of his savings, which came up to about $6,000, invested everything, and he tried to start up Under Armour. He received a letter that he was overdue on loans or debts. He had so much debt to pay, and everything about Under Armour had just completely disintegrated. And he had moved back to his parents' home, and he was in tears, absolute tears. It wasn't until there was one fateful day that he received a letter saying that he received a check for, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe 20,000. Or he got a phone call saying we want to do this. It was an advert. He got a phone call for an advert that they wanted to involve his Under Armour clothing, and they wanted to pay him 20,000, and he said no. Instead, he took a different route in order to be able to make more money than just the 20K. And well, that's how Under Armour was born. So now that I know the story of how Under Armour was created, looking into this now, they're being involved in space. Yeah, they're being involved in space with the names of Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, and I'm not too sure if Elon Musk. But those two, they are very, very big names, as we already know. And that's going to help Under Armour so much more now than what it was already helping, like with Stephen Curry, who had won the NBA championship back in 2015 and upped their stock on the markets. Now, Under Armour may potentially take over the sporting scene in terms of clothing and just items. The prices may increase. Who knows?
Yeah. Now, talking about how they're expanding their product range.
Yeah.
Just talking about the specs of the clothing. Now, I think Gymshark has a similar story to what you said. This is what entrepreneurs do when they believe in their product, in their journey, in the market's necessity for it. They're willing to take all the risks. Similar story to what you said just now with Under Armour. LeBron James refused an agreement or the sponsorship with Adidas before he signed up with Nike.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
when he was small. Yeah, and so now this lightweight suit comes up to just a kilo, and these are flight grade fabrics. This is what they call it. And then these are designed for comfort. Obviously, if you're floating on zero gravity, if you're pressed back onto your seat, these help regulate body temperature. And there are boots also that these guys have designed for it. Now they haven't really said a lot about the boots, but when it comes to the shoes, there's a lot that match with the rest of the suit. Yeah, so all the press cons, these guys are actually doing all the promotions with the suit as well. It looks super cool. It looks super interesting. You basically generally get the whole the big puffy spacesuit, but these guys are yeah.
I don't know how they managed to get down to weighing less than a kilo. That's really, really light. Very light.
Comes into a big factor. Weight plays a big factor when it comes to space because, like I said, not just the physical training, it's the dieting as well. Because you need to know you need to. It's every gram that they calculate when it comes to taking you to space. Just like aeroplanes, they you have a baggage limit, but when it comes to space, you're considering miles of flight against gravity. And even I watched this other video that talks about how the astronauts on the space stations, the food that is sent to them is all weighed. And even in terms of dehydrating the food, they go into dehydrating the food, removing the water to remove that weight as well. So
you remove the water. Yeah, you remove the. Oh yeah. It's true. Yeah.
That's to go into that extent. So I mean, weight has definitely got a game to play in this, right?
Yeah, it plays a very huge part within the whole thing itself.
So imagine, being a big foodie, space is not the big place for you. I was just like, if I'm going, I'm just going for a couple of hours. No, it's not going to be a couple of days.
In fact, that's even a question I'd like to ask, because imagine going into space, you would like to only be there for a few hours, but how long would a few hours be in space? How in terms of time, how much would a few hours translate to on Earth when in space? So how much would a few hours in space translate to on Earth? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I've always had the notion that if you fly into space, your perception of time is different. That's it. Your perception of time is different in space, because obviously you feel like maybe it's just 30 minutes. Meanwhile, 30 minutes could translate to 5 hours down on Earth. We don't know. So I don't know, or maybe two hours could translate to a whole 4 days. We don't know. So realistically, you may think, oh, I was only up there for 2 hours. Like, let me just come back down now. Meanwhile, all of this has happened you're thinking all of this has happened within 2 hours. Meanwhile, it's been 4 days. You never know. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I always had the notion that perception of time is completely different when you're in space.
This is I think Einstein spoke about something to do with this and the theory of relativity. Yeah. Have you heard of anything like this? Because
not the theory of relativity.
So Einstein, basically, there's a story of how he talks about if two people travel to space, if these are twins, right? If these are twins, there's something in the lines of that. I'm not too sure. Maybe we can come back on Monday with this story. But yeah, it's again physics and things like this. Yeah, definitely it needs to come into consideration or calculation when traveling, because at the end of the day, they need to come back down and live on Earth as well. So
of course, of course.
If this trip is made between the next 4 to 5 years, so yeah.
Indeed, yeah. But yeah, that was just my thought. That's just my thought, really. I didn't know. I always thought the perception of time was just completely different when you're all the way up in space. Because really and truly, what kind of time frame do you follow? What time zone do you follow when you're in space? And a completely huge atmosphere that doesn't follow a time. So I don't know. That's what I thought, really. And there's nothing that necessarily spins in space, so there's no real time for you to really follow. There's nothing that your body can adjust to. You're just floating. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just I'm actually going to do a bit of a look up on this before we talk on Monday. You just popped a ton of questions in my head, man, and I think it's best we just answer it on Monday straight away.
Yeah, I mean, these are the type of things that you got to think about. Like, for example, with the perception of time, seeing as we don't actually have a perception of time in space, or I'd like to believe so, you could be eating as much as you want. You may not gain weight, but say for example, someone on Earth who probably eats for the same length of time as you, they're not doing any exercise, same thing that you're not doing, but they change completely. Or being able to grow facial hair. You think you've really spent a couple of hours up in space. Meanwhile, it could translate to 4 months. A friend of yours that you saw before you flew up into space, clean shaven and everything, he chose to just not touch any blades. You thought it would only be 2 hours. And by the time you come back down after 2 hours, it's been 4 months and he's grown a full beard. And you're thinking, wait, hang on a minute. You know? So, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. That's the reason why I feel like I need to, I don't know. I just want to know if it's true. And it'd be interesting to know why.
I'm definitely going to come back with answers on this, man. You got me now. I think you just made a rabbit hole for me to just dive down into on the weekend. Talking about Under Armour and sports. There is a Nike a conversation where they're talking about how there are claims that it is a brand of China and for China. And, just like we spoke yesterday on Apple and Foxconn, if Nike is doing a lot of, is Nike doing a lot of manufacturing or, coordination in terms of their logistics in China? You're tuned in on The Buzz, everyone. Make sure you're locked in here. We've got another talk segment for you. One last talk segment before we head out.
Indeed, we do.
Make sure you're locked in here. And we'll talk to you about what is happening around the financial results, what the CEO is saying, and where they're looking at going, what their relationship with China is. Stay tuned right here, everyone. You're with Kings and Tim on The Buzz. Good afternoon.
Valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million pounds. And they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies and then you step up into different things.
But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much has changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you how did I do? Or you didn't do very well, and they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young, well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he might say to me, you had one to forget.
That's it. Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. An inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid. I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back from the break and we are in the final segment of the talk show, The Buzz, where we're here for everything business, everything technology, everything finance, and everything entrepreneurship. Ladies, sit back, relax, keep your ears peeled, tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure you tell your dog as well. This is The Buzz.
That's right, everyone. This is the last talk segment of the week for The Buzz. Now, coming to Nike, we were talking about Nike and how there's a fiasco going on about how the CEO has said it's a brand of China, and I'm confident saying that China has a say in this because of the fact that it definitely cuts a lot of cost to negotiate or have a particular arm if it's manufacturing, if it comes to production. If there is a particular part of the logistics conversation to keep it in China. So now he also says that they are the largest sports brand there. Nike is a brand of China for China. The guy's name is John Donahoe, and he talks about how the biggest asset that they have is China, and it is the consumer equity. So this, what he means by this is that there's a whole industry fit where market and consumer fit, product and market fit. Where, there's a big manufacturing going on in China as well, but also a consumption of the goods. So you have people purchasing it as well. And, he talks about how the consumers feel a deep connection to Nike, Jordan, Converse brands, and it's real, right? Now, regardless of where you are in the world, if you love basketball, if you love, let's say, Michael Jordan, for instance, you might want a pair of theirs. And, if you are a fan of Kobe, you might want a pair of Kobe's. So, like such, the Chinese are big fans of these sports as well. So, you have a decent amount. Although you might get the knockoffs, you will get the knockoffs. But, it's guaranteed that there is a market or consumption. There is generally a significant consumption of where and how these people are purchasing in China. So that is why he says it's a brand of China for China as well. So, but there is a concern why he's talking about China like this. Now, there is the forced labor practices in the Zhangjing region. That where they talk about how this might not source textiles or products from the region like cotton. When it comes into further conversations around Nike stocks soaring to record sales, what's the story here, Kings? We were talking about if you can go in the lines of how US and other Western countries are responding to this.
Responding to China, well, as we've spoken yesterday in terms of just the Chinese and how everyone's really just watching them. So we've talked about how we have Twitter, Facebook, and other social media platforms, including Google, saying that they will restrict or take away all rights with China if they continue trying to cause malicious intent of illegal sharing of personal data. We've also had the fact that the cyberspace watchdog watching over the app Didi for again the same reason, and we've also got Donald Trump, who has also mentioned how he's also thinking of wanting to terminate anything to do with
the app, right? Like ByteDance.
Yes, thank you. ByteDance. So TikTok. So he's trying to terminate that connection whatsoever. So we know that China has really been on the hot water right now. So this also, it's kind of like adding on to the whole fiasco of issues. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So this is
now with the international conversation around how the US or other Western countries might push for forced labor allegations with sanctions, and statements that have been consistently resurfacing. These call for Chinese consumers to boycott brands, right? So in one way you are employing these people, but depending on how they are managed, it's not only Nike, it's companies like H&M as well. You have
yeah.
the kind of, the labor, you have a lot of the labor allegations or forced labor allegations that come up to big brands like this, because when they do their research and development, they do research in detailed way where they check on multiple companies, multiple countries, compare the practices, compare the quality and the pricing. So,
Yeah.
This is a concern that the Chinese government has needed to characterize with these companies, and the decision to avoid using cotton sourced from the region. These are all to undermine its economy.
Yeah, indeed. Even continuing on with the whole Nike is for China and it's a brand by China for China. US companies increasingly coming under scrutiny over their operations in China, where critics wonder how far they have to bend their practices in order to satisfy the communist government. Now, in my opinion, whenever it comes down to things like this, especially whenever we're involved in big brands like Nike, and honestly, I think there was a question. I remember there was a question that you had asked me about Uber, and how you asked me, should they, adjust to what's going on in China in order for their services to continue. And I think I gave my answer yesterday. I'm going to use the exact same answer for this as well. They shouldn't have to bend their rules in order for them to be able to appeal or appease this government, because at the end of the day, this is a brand that works in every single region of the world. So why must China be different? Like we already know, we have mentioned yesterday and the day before that nobody knows what goes on in China. They're a very secret country. No one really knows too much. They can't go any further than the surface,
100%.
So it's tough to be able to see what's going on. We've already gone through the fact that we believe that China, pretty much the government controls their people in terms of what they can see, what they can do, what they're able to search. They limit everything that they're able to do and keep it to a very, very, very minimum, so that they keep to a very, very, very minimum, so that they're not able to, go further than what they need to. Also, speaking on the channels as well, they don't allow channels to be able to get out of the country. Otherwise, they fear that they may lose control. So just like this as well.
Yeah, I mean, they have so much of control as it is, right? I mean, when I talk about control, I mean where the country is in terms of monitoring the citizens. Now, this is a little again off topic, but they have cameras apparently all over the country. They have face recognition cameras, and they have a point system where they rate their citizens, and also base the only place apparently that they don't have cameras is in washrooms in the public. So yeah, it's crazy.
This sounds like the movie iRobot.
Yeah.
This literally sounds like iRobot. Like, if it's not exactly the same, it's eerily similar. I know that the society in iRobot was half human beings and half robots, and then the robots decided to switch and start killing everyone. But iRobot, this literally just sounds like iRobot to me. A point system, you follow commands and you deal with everything that you're told to do. You can't do anything else, Sooner or later, they'll put chips in everyone's heads, and now they'll have them operating and bend them to their every will because they can't do anything else.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. And that'll be a very scary sight if that does happen, I'll be honest. But nonetheless, I think we've come down to the section that we do love to speak about every single day. And
I'm also going to miss this once the playoffs end.
Yeah. Pardon?
I think we've got a week more given that the games go on, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to talk about once these playoffs are over, but
I wouldn't mind pushing for Game 7. I don't honestly. Yeah, I'm just going to miss the game. I think the games are starting again in October.
That would make sense. Yeah, at least now everything's getting back to normal. So, none other than that. So the Phoenix Suns. All I can say is I'm proud. That's all I can say. All I can say is I'm proud. I want them to win, and so far they're 2 up. So I am absolutely proud. DeAndre Ayton is looking very, very amazing right now, and Chris Paul, this is one season he spent with the Suns, and look at what he's managed to do. He's done this with so many different teams prior, like the Houston Rockets. He played, I believe it's one season with the Houston Rockets, and he took them all the way to the Western Conference Finals. He played one season with the OKC Thunder and took them to the playoffs. I think second round. Now he's playing with the Suns. They're sitting in the finals, potentially going to win it.
Absolutely.
I think
I mean, I'll honestly be happy for Chris Paul as well. It's just that I'm honestly biased towards Giannis. The guy was, he's been playing his heart out these days. Just hoping. I mean, I don't want him to get swept either. I know I can guarantee that they won't get swept, but I want him to at least go down with it decent.
Nah, they won't get swept. I know they won't get swept.
The next two games are in Milwaukee.
There we go. So there's no way they won't get swept. But this is going to be a very, very interesting series. Very interesting. If I get the opportunity to watch at least one, I hope to watch the game on Saturday. So if I get the opportunity to watch at least one game, I will watch it. Because it's going to look beautiful. It's going to look absolutely beautiful. But nonetheless.
With that being said, we'll be wrapping up for the hour. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you come on board. Chris and I will be talking on Thursdays. That's 12 to 1 p.m. on finance. But you can come watch Kings again. Listen to Kings tomorrow from 11 to 1. That's on the final whistle.
Indeed.
Josh, make sure you come back 11 to 1 p.m. on Saturday, talking about sports, everything, football, predictions for the match. Bring them in, add them to the conversation. Just let them know where you think it's going to go, where you think the trophy is going to go. I mean, you have to be biased here, but let's do some score predictions, right?
Of course. If I'm going to put any score prediction, I'll put a score prediction. I'll probably say it might end up as 2-1 again. Who knows? It might end up as 2-1 again. Only time will tell. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, with that being said, we're going to call it a day. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Hoping you to tune in again on Monday, 12 to 1. Kings and I on the buzz. Hoping you have an amazing weekend. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.